Hello, Wallace. It has been far more than a week since my last vlog, so sorry about that. I hope your shoulder is all recovered. Um, I have left to Japan over the last few weeks and have now returned. You mentioned in your last video that you appreciated being able to bike around Atlanta, despite your fall. And let me tell you, people in Japan bike a lot more than I expected in the cities that I went to, at the very least. And that too, when I see people bike around Atlanta, it's like youngish people, like people our age. But from what I saw in Japan, it was a pretty wide distribution across old people, young people, like everyone just biking around the city when they weren't taking advantage of major cities' incredible public transport and Japan's bullet trains and things like that. Um, I'm sure you've heard all this before, but it's crazy seeing firsthand how punctual everything is. Um, Going back to 2 videos ago from you, while I was in Japan, I got to walk around a lot of temples there, and I got to see some World Heritage sites that were in Japan. And while I was looking around, looking at these like gorgeous temples situated in these really nice spots of nature, I was thinking about work done by Frank Lloyd Wright that was named or put up for being a World Heritage site. And I just thought it was really neat the kind of diversity of things that people have created across varied cultures. Going back to kind of the main point, it's really exciting to hear that you're working on a research project tying into this, using biking as a way to get around Atlanta. So I'm rooting for you, and I want to keep hearing updates about that. Now, going back to your question from before about, I appreciate the back propagation joke there, but kind of what I'm doing long term to make the world a better place and how I'm kind of acting on that right now. So, as you know, I work on robotics and I'm specifically interested in motion planning and reinforcement learning. And the reason I work on these things, they do have a lot of potential to make the world a better place. In general, autonomous driving as like an easy application, but long-term applications of decision making. Um, Surgery is something that excites me a lot, robotic surgery. But at the end of the day, I think I'm being a little selfish with my research interests, right? I work on robots because they're really cool. And I appreciate also that they can make the world such a better place. This factors into the coolness. But at the end of the day, it's like viscerally exciting for me to see robots move as a result of code I've written. That being said, and how I think I can more realistically positively affect the world, is if we step away from concrete applications of robotics and think about what I'd be doing with the PhD, which is the goal right now is to go into academia as a professor, and part of that responsibility is training students, right? Teaching lectures, supervising other PhD students. And that's where I think I have the opportunity to make my biggest marks is I care a lot about uh, getting other people excited. I think that has a really high payoff. And also, I think this is kind of a way to pay forward kind of all the things I've gotten from excellent teachers I've had in my life and peers who've helped educate me. So the way I'm back propagating that into what I do now is I'm paying a lot of attention into, as I learn things, what makes them challenging and what works for me to understand them and what works for people around me. So how do different people's learning modalities vary from my own? And, you know, thanks to my participation in organizations like Agency, where I gave weekly lectures on machine learning, I get a lot of practice in teaching. So that's kind of where I'm acting now, where it's like, how can I best understand these topics and also in a way that I can explain them to other people? And, okay, I got about a minute left. All right, so a better teacher for me than other people is failure. Funny story from while I was in Japan. I was walking out of a hostel, checking out, and the hostess said, arigato, which means thank you. And I responded with Gochi Sozo sama deshita, which I thought meant thank you for having me, like it's a thing you say in response to getting a thank you from someone at a restaurant, a waiter or something, but it means thanks for the meal. And now that definition, it's not what you say to a hostel host. So that mistake will be drilled into my head forever and ever and ever. But it's like a kind of funny story, right? So I guess what I'm going to ask you is any funny yet vivid failures that you look back on that act as a good teacher? Also, knight c5, which will be in the comments. Later.